Camera opens on a caravan speeding through the desert, leaving a trail of dust. Walter White, wearing only underwear, a lab apron, and a gas mask, drives in panic. In the passenger seat, a man is unconscious, and two bodies lie in the back. Hearing sirens, Walter raises a gun. The story rewinds. Walter White is a 50-year-old high school chemistry teacher in Albuquerque. On his birthday, he faces disrespect from his students, his boss at the car wash, and tension at home. His wife Skylar is distant, and his son Walter Jr. struggles with cerebral palsy. After collapsing at the car wash, Walter is diagnosed with terminal lung cancer. He chooses not to tell his family and processes the news silently. At a family dinner, his brother-in-law Hank, who works for the DEA, talks about a major drug bust. Walter joins Hank on a ride-along and recognizes Jesse Pinkman, a former student, fleeing the scene. Walter tracks down Jesse and proposes they manufacture methamphetamine together. They rent a caravan and drive to the desert, where Walter successfully cooks a highly pure batch of meth. Jesse arranges a deal with drug dealers Crazy 8 and Emilio. When Emilio recognizes Walter, the situation escalates. Walter quickly improvises, using chemistry to release a toxic gas inside the caravan. Emilio dies, and Crazy 8 is rendered unconscious. Walter and Jesse load the bodies into the caravan and attempt to flee. In the process, the caravan crashes into a ditch. Walter returns home, takes a shower, and interacts with Skylar in an unusually confident manner. He begins to shed his passive nature, showing signs of transformation. The episode ends with Walter White having taken his first step into a new, dangerous life. The episode picks up inside the caravan after the chaos in the desert. Walter and Jesse, with an unconscious Crazy 8 and Emilio's corpse, manage to return to Jesse's house. Once there, they discuss what to do with the bodies. Walter realizes that Crazy 8 is still alive. He restrains him in the basement using a bike lock. For Emilio's body, Walter instructs Jesse to use acid and a plastic container. However, Jesse ignores the advice and places the body in the bathtub. The acid eats through the tub and the floor, causing serious damage to the house. Meanwhile, Skylar becomes suspicious of Walter's strange behavior. She checks his phone records and discovers Jesse Pinkman's name. She researches Jesse online and links him to drugs. Skylar confronts Walter, questioning his connection to Jesse. Walter starts interacting with Crazy 8 in the basement. He brings him food and talks to him. Walter struggles deeply with the idea of killing him, facing internal conflict. Crazy 8 tries to earn Walter's trust during their conversations, while Walter remains undecided about what to do. At the same time, Jesse attempts to clean the house, overwhelmed by the damage caused by the acid. The episode ends with Walter unable to kill Crazy 8 yet, and the situation growing even more complicated. The episode begins with Walter cleaning up after the events at Jesse's house. Jesse struggles with the damaged ceiling caused by the acid incident. Meanwhile, Walter focuses on what to do with Crazy 8, who remains locked in the basement. Walter prepares a list of pros and cons about killing Crazy 8. He brings him food and engages in more conversations, trying to justify his next move. Crazy 8 tells Walter personal details about himself, trying to humanize himself and gain sympathy. Skylar continues to investigate Walter's behavior. She confronts Jesse by showing up at his house. Jesse panics but tries to deny everything. Skylar becomes more convinced that Walter is hiding serious secrets. Walter's guilt grows stronger during his talks with Crazy 8. He considers letting him go. However, Walter becomes suspicious after cleaning up the broken plate from earlier. He realizes that a piece of the plate is missing. Walter concludes that Crazy 8 has taken the missing shard to attack him once released. Forced into a decision, Walter strangles Crazy 8 with the bike lock, killing him in the basement. After the killing, Walter is visibly shaken but continues to act normal around his family. He returns home and pretends that everything is fine. The episode ends with Walter rejoining Skylar at home, hiding the truth of what he has done while trying to return to his daily life. After killing Crazy 8, Walter spends a quiet morning with his family. Skylar is still suspicious of his strange behavior. During dinner, Walter finally reveals that he has been diagnosed with lung cancer. The news shocks the entire family. Each family member reacts differently. Skylar is devastated and urges Walter to seek treatment. Walter Jr. is angry and struggles to process the news. Skylar questions why Walter waited so long to tell them. Skylar wants to learn more about the disease and asks her sister Marie for help. Marie becomes concerned that Walter Jr. might be using marijuana and tells her husband Hank. Hank then takes Walter Jr. to witness the arrest of a drug dealer, hoping to scare him straight. Meanwhile, Jesse returns to his parents' house after the traumatic events with Crazy 8. However, after his parents discover evidence of drug use, they kick him out. Jesse tries to reconnect with old friends, but ends up alone and without support. Walter begins to consider refusing treatment, wanting to take control of his own fate. Skylar refuses to accept that, and insists that he fight the cancer. Walter expresses frustration about losing control over his own life. Hank tries to offer moral support to Walter, but Walter remains distant and introspective. The episode ends with Walter standing alone, lighting a cigarette, and silently reflecting on his illness, his family, and the decisions ahead of him. Walter and Skylar attend a birthday party hosted by Elliot and Gretchen, Walter's former colleagues. It is revealed that Walter was once a co-founder of Gray Matter Technologies, a company that is now extremely successful. Walter left the company years ago. During the party, Gretchen and Elliot offer to pay for Walter's cancer treatment, but he firmly refuses their financial help. Meanwhile, Skylar does everything she can to convince Walter to accept treatment. Along with their son, Walter Jr., she tries to pressure him. Walter Jr. is deeply upset and feels that his father is choosing death over fighting the disease. Skylar becomes suspicious and begins investigating whether Walter is secretly taking medication. She talks with her sister Marie, who offers support, but the stress on Skylar continues to build. At the same time, Jesse attempts to return to the drug business. He tries to learn a better method of cooking meth from a friend, but the product turns out to be low quality. Jesse realizes that most meth on the street is poorly made, which reminds him of the superior quality of the meth he produced with Walter. He starts thinking about teaming up with Walter again. Despite the pressure from his family, Walter insists on making his own decisions. He refuses outside help and expresses a desire to start treatment on his own terms. The episode ends with Walter caught between the offers of help from others and his strong need to maintain control over his own life. Walter tells his family that he is starting chemotherapy. Skylar is relieved by his decision. However, Walter insists on paying for the treatment in his own way, refusing financial help from Gretchen and Elliot. Meanwhile, Jesse continues trying to sell meth but faces serious trouble on the streets. He encounters a violent distributor named Tuco Salamanca. Tuco steals Jesse's product, refuses to pay, and brutally beats him, leaving Jesse hospitalized. After visiting Jesse in the hospital, Walter decides to take action. He uses his chemistry knowledge and prepares a highly volatile explosive compound. He shaves his head and adopts a more intimidating appearance. Then he visits Tuco's headquarters alone. Inside, Walter throws a crystal that looks like meth onto the ground, causing a massive explosion that shakes the entire building. Tuco is enraged at first, but Walter calmly demands payment for Jesse's product and offers to sell Tuco more meth. Impressed by Walter's boldness and the quality of the product, Tuco agrees to a deal. He pays cash up front and places a large order, establishing a dangerous business relationship. As Walter walks out of the building, he is no longer just a high school chemistry teacher. He has entered the criminal world with a new identity. For the first time, he uses the name Heisenberg, marking the beginning of his transformation. Skylar becomes angry when she discovers that her sister Marie shoplifted the gift she gave for Skylar's unborn baby. The confrontation causes tension between the two sisters. Despite the conflict at home, Skylar shares a moment of intimacy with Walter. However, Walter continues to keep his criminal activities secret. Meanwhile, Tuco demands a much larger amount of meth from Walter. Walter realizes he can't produce that quantity with the current equipment and materials in Jesse's RV. He and Jesse begin searching for a solution. They find that they need methylamine, a restricted chemical. To obtain it, Walter and Jesse break into a chemical supply warehouse. With careful planning, they manage to steal the methylamine successfully. The heist marks a turning point in Walter's criminal evolution, showing his increasing willingness to take serious risks. Using the stolen methylamine, Walter and Jesse are able to produce a large batch of high-quality meth. Walter manages to scale up production without sacrificing purity, which impresses Tuco. As a result, Tuco agrees to expand their deal. At home, Skylar becomes increasingly suspicious of Walter's strange behavior. His sudden absences and evasive answers deepen her concern. The episode ends with Walter being pulled further into the drug trade, balancing a double life, one as a family man and the other as a growing figure in the criminal world.